everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, March 10th, 2019. May I remind you that you are under oath. Every single person who testified this week, one of the three lawyers said to them at some point, "May I remind you that you are under oath." How does that even work? Like, I'm sitting on the stand, I am trying to skirt around the truth, and the lawyer goes to me, "Hey, Allie, but remember, liar, liar, pants on fire." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, I guess I killed JT." May I remind you that liar, liar, pants on fire? Oh, we haven't had this much courtroom drama in a long time. We were in the courtroom drama all week long, too, starting out with Christine's star hostile witness, Phyllis Summers. And I have to give Phyllis a little bit of credit for the fact that she did try. She tried, but she had absolutely no idea what or who she was dealing with. I was delighted to see Christine win one. Through the course of Christine versus Phyllis, the rivalry, usually it was Phyllis getting one over on Christine. This was a moment that was a long time coming for cricket, and it was just nice to see the bug win one. I loved the interaction between these two, even though the original rivalry had taken place with a different actress playing the role of Phyllis. I think that Gina versus Laura Lee gave me all of the same dynamics that I got back in the day when the rivalry was fresh and new, and I kind of wish Y&R would resurrect it. It was really good. These were some of the best scenes of the week, I think. So I vote more Chris versus Phyllis. Krillis. Because it was intense. I have expected Phyllis to lash back at Christina on the stand saying, "You want the truth? You can't handle the truth." Oh. Christine did not give Phyllis much wriggle room to work with. Christine didn't give Phyllis a lot of opportunities to plead her case that everything that happened with the women was self-defense. That was Phyllis's goal, to try to testify for the prosecution, but also to try to explain that it wasn't what the prosecution is implying. But Chris was able to pull out all of these little details and force Phyllis to admit to things that made it not look like self-defense, that made Nikki specifically look very, very guilty. In fact, Christine drew out of Phyllis, under oath, may I remind you, that Victoria had admitted to hitting JT too, which Michael was able to explain later on. But perhaps most powerfully, Chris was able to draw out of Phyllis that Nikki hit JT from behind. It's kind of hard to make an argument for self-defense when the person that you're defending yourself against doesn't even have themselves facing you. It was very, very dramatic when Christine asked Phyllis to get up off the stand and recreate the moment of impact, and Phyllis had to choke everything down, needing to be honest in order to save herself, but knowing that what she was doing, placing this poor bailiff into the position where JT was and reenacting the actual kill blow, I mean, that was horrible for her. And did anybody else think that Christine seemed really surprised when Phyllis admitted that JT was not facing Nikki when she hit him, Christine seemed legitimately surprised, although I don't know, maybe not, considering the fact that she's the one who asked for the demonstration. But the demonstration was a really strong point of Chris's case. It was very, very effective. And another little interesting detail that I thought Chris was able to pull out of Phyllis and force her to admit, it was the fact that JT wasn't exactly, I guess, an intruder in the home that night. I never thought about it that way, but it was his home. She had kicked him out, but he still did have personal belongings there. He had a closet full of things. I mean, it was still technically the place where he was residing, whether or not he owned the home or not. So the fact that he went in through the window doesn't really necessarily characterize him in terms of the law as an intruder. I mean, you can enter through your front door, through your window, through your back door, however you want to, if it's the place that you're living. So I thought that was an interesting point that the prosecution made. And also, I liked that, at least considering the fact that Phyllis was sailing all of her friends right down the river, she at least did admit on the stand that she was the one who talked the girls out of calling the police. So even though Phyllis has this overall immunity, she did do the right thing by also casting some light of responsibility onto herself. Michael's cross-examination of Phyllis was really powerful too, especially considering that Phyllis and Michael were best friends and cohorts at one point. Michael really had no problem laying into Phyllis on the stand. He had no problem bringing up Phyllis's feelings for Victor, Phyllis's feelings for the Newman family. Michael even brought up the Marco situation, which Jack was sitting in the peanut gallery watching the trial, and his eyes just closed, and he just felt so, I think, ashamed and saddened that that incident was being brought up and in the middle of public court. But also, Brittany laid into Phyllis pretty good too, airing out her affairs with Nick and Billy, as if Phyllis was sitting on the stand there today testifying against these women so that she could send Victoria and Sharon to jail so that she could basically have Billy and Nick all to herself. What an accusation! At first, I was laughing a little bit when Brittany was just airing out Phyllis's romantic history. It seemed like it was all just for fun, but then when she made that point, I thought, ooh, that sure makes Phyllis look bad, like she was vindictive and jealous and just wanted to get these other women out of the way. Hoo. Nick was sitting in the courtroom too, and he's torn. Phyllis is the mother of his child. This is a woman he loved very much at one time, and he's watching her get grilled, watching her also now betray the other important women in his life, and watching Christine do it. Do you guys remember? I think that Christine and Nick had a thing. They had like a one-night thing. Do you remember this? I don't know if they actually slept together or not, but they were at least flirting. I seem to remember that they were at Nick's bar. I think they were both at the Underground, and they were both bemoaning something or other about their lives. They were a little bit tipsy, and one thing led to another, and I don't remember if they slept together or if they just kissed, or I can't exactly remember the details, but something happened there a little bit between Christine and Nick. Maybe you guys remember and can leave a comment to refresh the memory, but that was a little tidbit of interpersonal dynamic that I was reminded of during Phyllis's scene on the stand. And afterwards and before, all over the place, Phyllis is still trying to fight to save her relationship with Nick. She's insisting to him that she was only testifying for the prosecution because she was trying to help the others. But Nick convinced me this week. After hearing everything that Nick had to say to her, he made a really good point that if Phyllis really wanted to help the other women, she would have stayed quiet, stayed in unity with them. What she really did ultimately was helped herself. In a pinch, Michael had to use a handy little piece of information that Nick gave to him, that Tessa blackmailed the women, specifically Nikki, over that surveillance video. She knew all about it. And Michael had no problem dragging that fact to light on the stand after he summoned Tessa to testify, and Tessa looked so guilty, and I know she felt so guilty, and it made Nikki and Victoria, at least at first, and Sharon, look less guilty by comparison. Christine had to scramble to save her case after listening to how Tessa blackmailed these women. So what Christine does is calls a recess, and she goes to talk to her star rat, Phyllis Summers. And I loved this encounter in Phyllis's office, by the way. Phyllis has gone back to business as usual, and Christine shows up needing more info on Tessa. And Phyllis at first tells her, "What are you doing here? You don't belong in my office. Just get out." And there was a line that Christine had where Christine just looked at her deadpan and said, "I outsmarted you. Get over it." Nobody gets that on Phyllis. We don't see that too often. Usually Phyllis is doing the outsmarting for years. But Christine just looks at her and says, "I outsmarted you, get over it. Now tell me everything you know about Tessa." So she does. Phyllis tells Christine about the blackmail. Chris goes back to the court. Christine the Merciless, I think they called her at one point in the week. I think this is a great title for her. And Christine tricked Tessa under oath. May I remind you, Tessa, that you are under oath. She tricks her into confessing the rest, that Victoria had put that hidden cam in Tessa's apartment, that Victoria had threatened to pin JT's whole murder on Tessa, and how all three of the women threw a bag over Tessa's head, I think. They put her in the backseat of their car. They drove her out into the middle of the woods, trying to get her to confess to knowing what happened to JT's body. And then when Tessa didn't comply, they just dumped her out of the car, abandoned her in the cold Wisconsin winter. Not a good look. Not a good look on Nikki and Victoria and Sharon. It made them all look like they had absolutely no problem using extreme force, and like they had absolutely no problem tossing their morality out the window to get done what needed to be done. In the eyes of the jury, maybe it looked like these are the kind of people who, admittedly, they killed and buried a man. And now they're learning that these women also dumped a girl in the wood, kidnapped and dumped a girl in the woods. Who's to say that they wouldn't be capable of doing it again? After Tessa's testimony, Michael only has one thing that he can do. Michael Baldwin has to put domestic violence on the stand. What a weird way to put it. I didn't like that line. I'm putting domestic violence on trial or on the stand or something like that. And I thought, that's kind of weird and cheesy. I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone would send domestic violence to prison. I don't know how Christine could even bear to cross-examine domestic violence. That was just a weird moment to me. Not that Victoria telling her story wasn't powerful. It was extremely powerful, and I was very moved with the way that Victoria sat on the stand and held herself. She didn't come off as trying to convince anyone of anything. She didn't come off as trying to be a victim or present herself as a victim. She just sat there and mostly quietly and mostly directly answered the questions that she was being asked. I just feel like I was such a fan of the domestic abuse storyline. I thought it was the best one of last year. I found it to be very powerful, it was very educating, but I also kind of feel like we've gone back to this well one too many times now. So hearing her talk about it again and seeing the video, and it was just, not that it wasn't powerful, but there was a part of me that just feels so exhausted by it in terms of the larger show. Just, okay, you did this one really great thing, Mal Young, but do we have to keep beating it? Ooh, I didn't mean it like that, but I mean, do we have to keep, going back over it over and over? I don't know. I want there's just a part of me that's just longing for some fresh story. The whole JT story has been dragged out for way too long, and this just felt like another continuation of that. If Victoria would have told the story that she told, under oath, mind you, if we need to remind anybody that you're under oath, if Victoria would have told that story on the stand a year ago, and if they never would have tried to cover up something that was an accident, that was so clearly an accident, then everything would be different right now. And it was a year ago. We've been going through this for a year now. It just seemed so reasonable and rational at the time, and everything that followed it was irrational. Victoria actually summed up that night about what Nikki did. She summed it up in one perfect phrase. Victoria said, "My mom didn't want JT to die. She just wanted me to live." I mean, case closed. That surely would have acquitted Nikki on the spot a year ago if they hadn't tried to bury the body and go through all of this crappy caper to cover it up. My mom didn't want JT to die. She just wanted me to live. Victoria's statements on the stand, even maybe if Nikki would have had a chance to take the stand, all of it would have been so much more identifiable if they hadn't gone through with trying to cover it up. And that's the crux of Christine's case. Christine summed up her argument and her case in a few perfect statements too. The indisputable fact of the matter is, these people made choices in the aftermath that were bad. They killed a guy. They chose to cover it up by burying him in the park like roadkill. And they chose to continue to try to cover it up up into including now. So, I mean, I don't know. They're all guilty. They are all guilty. Unless JT's not dead. It's the only way everybody gets out of this. And if JT is alive and JT is the mystery tormentor, just forget it. We know that's the truth. JT's alive. Can we just get there already? Sharon is on a bit of an island here. She has a different lawyer at this trial. She has a completely different approach to her defense. Early in the week, Sharon told Brittany the circumstances about what was going on between her and Ray the night that he arrested her, and I swear, I think you could light a tunnel with the light bulb that went on over Brittany Hodges' head when Sharon told her all about it. Wait a minute, Sharon. So are you telling me that Ray may have coerced your confession out of you? He was there at your house whispering sweet nothings in your ear, and then he just so happened to see your phone bill laying out on the coffee table. What if he was manipulating you all along. What if Ray's not such a good guy after all? What makes you think that he's a good guy, as Sharon is still continuing to insist? Look at where you're sitting right now. You're in jail because of him. Maybe it was a con all along. From the moment that he came into town, pretending to be a good friend, a good plumber, he moved in the Crimson Lights, he became a good tenant, he got her the job at the GCPD, and then he confessed his love for her in exchange for her confession of murder. Now, I'm not saying that I believe that it was all coercion or any coercion on Ray's part, but I think it's a fair point. Some of the dust for me, the sparkle, the luster of Ray's good guy status fell off of him the second that he arrested Sharon. And so when Brittany called Ray to the stand, it was one of my absolute favorite moments of the entire trial. It was brilliant. Mostly because it forced Ray into a position of, in front of his wife, mind you, having to testify that he either told Sharon that he loved her because he was trying to coerce a confession out of her, or he told Sharon that he loved her because he loves her. He pretty much manages to deny the coercion without directly confirming the love for Sharon on the stand. I just would really like to know what Ray's true feelings are. I feel like I don't know who he is. I don't know what he wants, because he said on the stand, under oath, might I remind you, that he is a happily married man. Literally said under oath that he's a happily married man. And he did go back to being this loving, happy, devoted husband to Mia the second that he got fooled into thinking that she was pregnant. He didn't have any further mentions even of the assault on Lola. He just went back to being Mr. Mia Rosales. And then, after his relationship with Sharon got exposed on the stand, Ray went home to Mia to try to continue on with their relationship. He told her when he came home that she's the woman, Mia's the woman that he wants to be with. So which is it? What is it, Ray? What do you want? Because if he turns around next week and goes right back begging to Sharon, I'm not buying it. I'm not having it. And that's probably what's going to happen, in all honesty. I don't think Sharon should forgive him, and I don't trust him enough now to want him to ask for the forgiveness. I mean, when he goes home to Mia, she is indignant. She does not even know how she can possibly forgive him for any of this now. She was forced to hear all about his love for Sharon in public while she is pregnant with his child. I mean, he almost made her drink a beer. He almost drove the mother of his child to drink alcohol while she's pregnant. Ugh, what a liar he is. And Ray says, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. I never slept with Sharon, okay? You did sleep with my brother, and you were calling out his name while we were making love just 2 weeks ago. So they have this big argument, and Ray starts to pull away. He says that things are over between he and Mia, and then she immediately flips back. So she was all indignant, and now she's flipping back into saying that she needs him to stay. She's begging him to stay for her, for their relationship, for their family, for the baby that they're having. But Ray just walks out. He walks right on out and tells her, oh, but don't worry. I'm going to keep your secret about Lola's assault. Well, hate to break it to you, Casanova, but her secret is now your secret. She confessed a crime to you, and you chose to cover it up illegally. Okay, you better make sure that Sharon doesn't find out about that. Take it! Take another little piece of my liver now, baby! Yes! To let Lola live her or not let Lola live her, that is the question. Oh yes, I had 2 perfectly good liver puns to start out this segment with. I couldn't decide though. Janis Joplin, do I go with the song parody, or do I go with a little Shakespeare? Janis Joplin or Shakespeare? This is the level I'm operating on here, and I couldn't decide, so I gave you both. Oh, well, yes, summer is a Lola liver match. Yay! Activate Kyle Abbott's super charm. Please, please, Summer. Please donate your liver to my girlfriend who I'm in love with. I'll do anything that it takes. I'll even marry you. Oh boy. A sexless marriage of convenience, or maybe inconvenience. I don't know. Well, it's every girl's dream. Every girl's dream. Sign me up. I gotta tell ya, I know everybody is gonna be irritated with Summer this week, but I think Kyle is so smug for even suggesting this. Why did he even throw this out on the table? It went from 0 to 100 in a second. Hey, Summer's a match for Lola. Rather than just saying, hey, could you maybe do the right thing and think about long and hard, think about doing the transplant surgery, let me know, get back to me, sleep on it. No, he just jumped right to, would you do this? I'll marry you if you do. Why? Why did he offer that? I mean, it came off to me as him saying, okay, well, if we get married, then I'll be giving you what you want, me. And then in return, you'll do something for me. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why Summer would even want this. Why would she even want this? I can only imagine that Summer is just so convinced that Kyle is really subconsciously deep down in love with her. And if he could just spend 1 year with her, just commit to 1 year being stuck in a sexless marriage of convenience with her, then he would see that she's the true love of his life, and then the marriage would turn real. But it is just crazy to me that she would even want him that way. I mean, she seems truly happy right now at this turn of events that they're getting married, and she's almost fooled herself, I think, into thinking that it's real and that he's actually proposing to her and that they're actually making wedding plans. How could she think that this is true? She had to badger him to even get him to admit that there was ever anything between them. It is so obvious that the man is in love with Lola and only looking at you right now because you have something that he wants. He didn't even want to admit to the fact that they really even had much of a prior relationship, prior connection, prior love. This is the same thing, I'm telling you, that she did with Billy. It's like harassment. She just wore him down. The process of, she tried to put up a little bit of a fight too, because he goes, I'll even marry you. And then she got all offended and said, well, as if I would want to just marry you for this. And then he said, no, let me continue to convince you. And then she just started laying into him, badgering him, forcing him to say, not even feel, but say that he had feelings for her previously. It's just as if Summer finds it impossible to believe that any given man doesn't want her. And by almost, I mean totally. Summer believes that every man wants her. It cannot be true anything else. Would you rather see Kyle with Lola or with Summer? That was our poll question from last week, and the majority of Y&R chatters are team Lola and Kyle. Now, I voted Summer and Kyle, but I tell ya, not only did my opinion on that shift as the week went on, but I saw those poll results shift as the week went on. Midweek, before any of this whole marriage business started popping up, the majority of people were voting in for Summer and Kyle, and the second this whole marriage BS started coming to surface, it shifted everybody's support. It shifted support over to Lola and Kyle. And I started seeing a lot more positive comments about those two. And it makes me feel more positive about those two now. I mean, would I rather see a loveless marriage between Summer and Kyle? Or would I just rather let Kyle get the woman that he wants? I mean, I guess I'd have to choose the latter. I just don't know how this is gonna work. And it's weird also that for someone who really likes to be the center of attention, it's surprising to me that Summer would ask to be an anonymous donor for Lola. She's trying to cover up the fact that she's even doing this. How is she planning exactly to keep this a secret? Because surely it will be obvious that she's gone through surgery. You don't think that Phyllis is going to notice? She already wasn't buying what Kyle and Summer were trying to sell her with this out of the blue engagement that is clearly based on something shady and shifty. I laughed though when Summer called Phyllis to lunch for some news, and Phyllis said to Summer, "Oh, you have news? Do you have a boyfriend?" And Summer responded, "No, there will be no more boyfriends, Mom." And I was waiting for Phyllis to ask, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend?" Because you never know. That feud between Summer and Mariah could always explode into something more. I also laughed, though, when Phyllis insinuated that maybe Summer was getting married to Kyle because she got pregnant. It is hard not to think about our prediction from last year that Summer would end up pregnant. Actually, I guess it would have been at the beginning of this year that Summer would end up pregnant with Billy's baby. Because we thought that was a pretty strong possibility. I think the ship has sailed though at this point. If Summer was pregnant, she'd be showing. I mean, we would have been down that road already if she was. She would know. So I really thought back at the beginning of the year when Summer and Billy slept together, I predicted that Summer would have found a way to trap Kyle into a marriage, only I thought it was going to be trapping him into pretending that he's the baby daddy so that she wasn't humiliated because it was Billy's child. But Summer somehow managed to still come through on that one. She still managed to trap Kyle into a marriage. It's just over a liver transplant instead. Who would have seen that one coming? Casting news. Alice Hunter is out as Kerry. Kerry will be no longer on the show. And my poll question for the week for you guys is, should Y&R have kept this character? I feel a little bit surprised, honestly. I guess I shouldn't be. She seems to maybe be the first casting cut for the new regime that's taking over that still hasn't hit the screen yet. Even as of Friday, Mal Young is still credited as the writer of the show. So I'm assuming that Kerry just got the axe due to the new brass at Y&R, and I'm wondering if you guys are okay with it. Are you not sad to see her go, or are you feeling as if she had potential to bring more to the drama? YRChat.com. That's the poll question of the week. It's almost a little disappointing to me because it feels like Kerry's just getting somewhere. I mean, the whole frozen egg thing didn't really go anywhere, and we've been, I think, trying to understand her and to see who she is and what her motives might be for quite a while since she's come onto the show. And it feels like we're just getting into the meat of it, and now she's gonna be gone. In the coming Jabot War, part 909, Kerry is poised to play all sides. She's pledging her loyalty to Phyllis, to Phyllis's face, and going through this whole pact with Phyllis that it's gonna be the Phyllis and Kerry era at Jabot of perfume and skincare. So she's overtly telling Phyllis that she's on her side, and then she's turning around accepting Jack's offer that will reward her for betraying Phyllis, for funneling out info to Jack about Phyllis's every move so that Jack can save his family company and get Phyllis out. I don't know why they don't just call a port vote. But this really should be a red flag for Jack. He seems very pleased that Kerry has agreed to help him, but I'm not so sure she is. I think she's just playing both sides. I think she's giving pro-face to both of them, and then I think she's maybe gonna just decide which deal works out best for her in the end. But as far as her relationship with Jack goes, if Kerry is willing to betray her friend Phyllis, then it doesn't matter if she's doing it for you today, because she could be doing it to you tomorrow. I also wonder if the reason that they're getting rid of Kerry is because they need someone for a convenient scapegoat. I wonder if they're gonna use her as a convenient scapegoat. I've heard from Alice Hunter, I think she posted on Twitter that Kerry's gonna be gone, but that she is going out with a bang. So I keep thinking we've gotta keep our eye on her, because I think there's probably a reasonable possibility that we're gonna find out she's working with JT. Spoiled, entitled, rich above the law. That was our phrase from last week's Who Said It. It was a little bit of a trick question, because you would have expected that to be something that maybe Christine would have said as the prosecutor in this trial, arguing that these people are spoiled, entitled, rich, and above the law. But no, it was actually Victoria. Victoria was describing how the jury might see them, and I thought that was a funny little moment of, I don't know, maybe self-awareness from Victoria. But it was a little bit of a trick question, but quite a few of you guys got it right. So congratulations, Jillian, Henry, Robbie, Juanita, Ambreen, Nancy, Mary Ann V, Jamie, Tommy, Liz, and Diana. You guys all guessed that quote right. Here's just another little snippet of a phrase. Who said this? Balloon animals. Balloon animals. It just feels like a happy little phrase in a week of crazy trials. I don't know, for some reason the phrase balloon animals coming out of someone's mouth this past week really jarred me. So we'll see if you caught it. If you think you know who was talking about balloon animals, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, you will get your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. Oh, here's a good comment from Justin. Justin says, Summer definitely is Phyllis's daughter, manipulating a man that does not want her into marrying her is exactly what Phyllis did with Danny. Summer is not passing off another man's child as Kyle's yet, but she is definitely manipulating his feelings for Lola to get him to marry her. That is such a great comment to bring up this week too, because Y&R didn't really dig into some of the rest of the past. between Phyllis and Christine. And it's a great parallel that we're going through this Summer manipulating Kyle into this weird marriage thing at the same time when we're seeing a callback to Phyllis and Christine, because as you say, Justin, Phyllis had manipulated Danny into a marriage and a fake pregnancy when who he really wanted to be with was Cricket. So what a great callback for this week especially. Oh, Superplex though says, it'll be real juicy watching Summer pull all the stops to get Kyle to perform his husbandly duties. I'm pretty sure if and when that happens, Kyle will think twice about how deep his love for Lola really is. I think you might have left this comment before Summer and Kyle explicitly said that he's not required to have sex with her. Maybe you didn't, maybe you didn't. But I think you're right that it's gonna happen, right? There's no way that Summer is not going to be going out of her way to seduce him at every chance she's got. It is a weapon that Summer has, and she's going to fire it. And it will indeed be juicy. Diana says, ooh, if Phyllis were to get back together with Jack and marry him again, that would make Summer and Kyle stepbrother and sister. So I guess Phyllis and Jack won't be getting back together anytime soon. Yeah, Phyllis has, you know what though? Phyllis has been pretty much named persona non grata when it comes to Nick and when it comes to Billy. So maybe she will end up fluctuating back to Jack, though. We know that his relationship with Kerry can't last since the actress is leaving the show, so who knows? Yeah, that's a sticky wicket, isn't it? They kind of can't really have Jack and Phyllis and Summer and Kyle together at the same time, can they? Well, last week's poll question, whether or not you would like to have Summer or Lola being paired with Kyle, we got quite a few comments on that. Ellen says Lola is a much more compelling partner for Kyle. They have two totally different backgrounds, not just two spoiled rich kids. I like that comment because there is, you know, the diversity between them is interesting, has made it interesting. And I thought that at first. I liked that about them at first, that Lola was drawing something different out of Kyle, teaching him some different life lessons, and maybe vice versa. But yeah, things just got a little needy for my taste between them. Robbie agrees with Ellen, though. Robbie says, let's face it, the only reason Summer wants Kyle is because he's in love with Lola. Kyle was single all of last year, and Summer could have easily been with him, but she strung him around while she went through with her obsession with Billy. Summer does not know what she wants. She has no long-term strategy for anything. I really feel that once Lola wakes up and realizes that she almost died, she will finally understand what matters in life. And Lola can always mature and gain confidence in her relationship with Kyle, whereas Summer has major character flaws that will always ruin her relationships, just like her mother. Oh, that has got to be a comment of the week, Robbie. That is really good. And I so agree with you that Summer had her chance to have Kyle, and she tossed him away many times. And you may make a good point that it's a situation where she wants what she can't have. But bringing it right back around to her destructive self tendencies and relating it to Phyllis, that is genius. Astra says, I know Summer is immature, but the chemistry's there between her and Kyle. Plus, Kyle isn't boring with Summer. When Lola first came on the show, I liked her, but never liked her romance with Kyle. But because of how she's been with Kyle, I don't care for her anymore. I would rather see Lola on her own, working on her career, at least for a little bit. That way, we as the audience can get more from the character. The thing that is in our face most about the character is her relationship with Kyle, and she should be more than that. Oh, Oh, yes, Astra. I think you make a good point that Y&R maybe should have spent a little bit more time letting us get to know Lola before just shoving her into this front burner romance and making her come off as needy. It's so weird that Lola is she seems very self-assured and very competent in her career. She really knows what she wants in her career. And the same really can't be said for her love life. But I guess that's not altogether too uncommon. A lot of people who are very competent in one area of their life can lack in another. And maybe that's what's going on with her. But I certainly do agree with you that what I liked best about Lola was not Lola and Kyle. It was Lola and her ambition for her career. And all of that seems to be put on hold now. Are we even still gonna get the restaurant? I don't know. Well, let's talk about Mia and Ray. Zoperplex says, will Mia stay pregnant now that she could use Ray's guilt to stop him from arresting her? This is a good question. Will Mia stay pregnant? Is she gonna use this fake pregnancy to continue to try to get Ray back? Or is she gonna go through maybe a fake miscarriage to try to gain his sympathy? I do wonder, since the baby was only able to glue them back together for a whole week, I wonder if the baby's gonna go away. The fake baby, I guess, gonna go away. I don't know. TJ, aka Tiffany, says, Ray on the witness stand was my favorite Y&R scene this year so far. I literally squealed with laughter and happiness when Brittany took him down. And Mia squirming and glaring was icing on the cake. It was so good. Now that is good soap. How many women dream of getting their cheating man under oath? Good comment. I really like this scene too. I feel very drawn into Ray's story. I think Y&R has, for the most part, done a really good job of presenting this whole triangle with Sharon and Ray and Mia. I do want more of it. I also want it to be a little more understandable from Ray's perspective. I wish Y&R didn't make him so wafy these last couple of weeks. He just went from Mia to Sharon, Mia, and now I'm expecting him to go back to Sharon. But yeah, Brittany nailed him. Brittany's so good. I looked up online I was trying to look up anyway, what kind of attorney she is, because just because she's a lawyer doesn't mean she's a trial attorney. And I couldn't really find any information, but I did look at Lauren Woodland's Wikipedia page, and it's like, I don't know, sometimes there's people where you just read about their lives and they're so impressive that it makes you feel a little bad about yourself, because I just went to her Wikipedia to try to find out what kind of attorney she was. I read the whole thing. She's really, really well educated. She's extremely gifted. She participates in like dance. I mean, she's just a remarkable individual. She's just so extraordinary that I was like, geez, what am I doing with my life? I did not go to any gifted schools. She's like a co-chair of the American Bar Association or something. It's impressive. And an actress. And did you know that she was in Alien Nation? Do you guys, I think I knew this and talked about it when she was first on the show, but I don't know if you guys remember that show from the 90s. It was kind of capitalizing on that alien interest in the 90s, probably around, I don't know if it was before the X-Files or not, but yeah, Alien Nation. It was a weird, I think it was Fox show, and she played a main role in it, and I just love her. I think she's been excellent in all of these trial scenes. I want more of her, but at the same time, I can't deny her going off and just having her amazing life and using her amazing talents elsewhere too. Like, I want her, but I also don't want to rob the world of her other talents. So can we just get her on recurring? Something. T. Nicole says, if Sharon gets off any charges, she better still look out. She's probably Mia's next target. Don't go walking alone late at night, especially near any pools, Sharon. Yeah, we know Mia and Sharon are gonna come to a head, at least within the next coming weeks. I think I can see Mia lashing out at Sharon, doing a bunch of horrible things to Sharon, and trying to manipulate Sharon away from Ray because of the supposed baby that she's carrying. I just, if Sharon turns around and takes Ray back, or even thinks about it, I can't. He turned you in. He put handcuffs on you and turned you in for murder. You cannot just go back to him. No. Sharon needs to put her foot down when it comes to Ray for at least like a month. Oh, Leslie, great point. Leslie says, why is she Sharon Newman, not McAvoy? I noticed this too. They were referring to her at the trial as Sharon Newman, and I still always think of her as Sharon Newman. I mean, she didn't go back to her maiden name or anything. She's been married a dozen times, but didn't go back to her maiden name. They just default her back to Sharon Newman, and yes, I have to admit, I think of her as Sharon Newman, but when it was said aloud in trial, I thought to myself, well, that's an interesting choice. That almost signals to me that maybe, and we heard Sharon saying this a couple weeks ago, that she'll always be a Newman. So maybe she's not going to take Ray right back. Maybe she's going to go back to Nick. Maybe that's a little bit of a heads up that that's where they're headed with her character. Once a Newman, always a Newman. They should give us Sharon's full married names too. She hasn't been married as many times as Nikki, for instance, but yeah. Leslie also says Michael should have had Nick testify as to the reasons that he thinks JT is still alive. Right? That might have added a little something. I don't even think, did anyone even mention the fact that there is no body? I don't think so. That's why I wonder. I mean, we had Nick at the end of Friday's show telling Billy that he still thinks JT is alive. So maybe what they're gonna do is have Nick drag JT in by his ear at the very last minute of the trial, or maybe just after the girls get convicted or something. I just think that is very interesting that they pretty much didn't mention the fact that they have no body for this murder. Michael didn't really lean into that fact in his approach, but he could have. And so I wonder if they're just trying to build that and not mention it for dramatic effect when they do trot JT into the trial or back onto our screen. Superplex says, when Nick informed Billy that he was going on a crusade to see if he can find JT, you know it might as well follow that this is going to end up with Nick becoming the hero by showing up with the dead man himself. Unfortunately, that will also mean that Sharon, Victoria, and Nikki will all be found guilty. There will be, however, one consolation prize in all of this. They will finally get an excuse to bring Lily back because the Margarita crew will be shacked up in the same hoosgow. Hoosgow. Laura says, move aside, lugubrious. There's a new word in town. Hoosgow. It is slang for a jail or a guardhouse. Whose gout is it? I don't know. You tell me. I gotta remember that. That is a pretty good one. Thank you, Superplex. Also interesting. So you think that if JT comes back, then he's gonna testify against the women and everything that they did, and then they definitely get convicted. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, because in my mind, if JT comes back, I'm imagining it's a, well, no body, no crime kind of thing. But you make an excellent point that just because he's alive doesn't mean there wasn't a crime committed, right? I don't know. What I really need is Brittany Hodges to come in and give me some lessons on the law. Ellen says, why doesn't someone show little Katie a picture of Reed's daddy and ask if he is her secret friend who lived behind the walls at the ranch? It's so annoying. Wouldn't job number one be figuring out who set up all those spy cameras, burned down the stables, and planted the evidence? Isn't JT's suspect number one? Come on, let's wrap this up. If JT is alive, problem solved, and we can all move on. Well, that is my feeling on that exactly, but I still really love your point that Katie is holding the missing piece of this puzzle. All they would ever have had to do was ask her, and then boom, boom. But no. This isn't the most, this whole JT murder thing for the last year has just not been great. It has not been great. Marianne says they haven't even mentioned the secret friend hiding in the walls since the trial started. Guess they forgot about it. Well, I wonder if Nick's gonna circle back to that next week. Is that what we're gonna see? I don't know, but it is annoying. Marianne also says, my prediction is that Paul will find out if JT is alive and save the day when he gets back. Oh, I love that idea, Marianne, but it could be another month before Doug Davidson gets back to the show. Please, Y&R. I cannot handle this being dragged out another month. We need resolution on this trial and the JT thing. It needs to be over soon. Leslie says, Allie, last week you didn't mention that Ashley's only coming back for 2 days. I'm not sure that you knew that. No, I didn't know that, darn it. So Ashley is only coming back for 2 days, but Doug Davidson is coming back full time. Is that right? Is that the scoop? Can someone let me know? Oh, Gary gives us a Genoa City News headline here. Breath mints cause sensation for viewers outside the courtroom. Yes, early in the week, Michael had talked Nikki into a guilty plea. And so Michael then goes to Christine to try to get a plea deal for Nikki. And Christine tells him, no way, but she does offer him a mint. And I saw so many comments about that teeny tiny little moment of Christine reaching into her purse while negotiating with Michael, handing him a mint. I thought it was a very interesting touch. I wonder if it was Laura Lee Bell. I wonder if she did that or if Christian LeBlanc did that. But yeah, I kind of liked it. I thought it was a nice little casual moment between them. I couldn't believe how many people were like, what? Mint? A mint? It's causing a sensation, that breath mint. Diana says, I liked seeing Christine at Gibeau in Phyllis's office. It seemed like forever that we've seen her on the outside of the police station or in a courtroom. Nice change. Yes. Yes, indeed. Chris says, my wish is that Cricket wants to fight for the underdog again, opens up her own firm with Brittany, and we can get more of these two characters. I know it'll never happen, but it's fun to dream. Ooh, yeah, these people are always getting into trouble. We need more than one lawyer. I mean, it's mostly Michael and then Christine for the prosecution. It wouldn't hurt to have an extra lawyer around. I agree. Let's see a little more of these guys. Leslie had also started a little conversation about Christine's own assault history. Leslie mentioned that Christine was date raped by Derek Stewart, and then she was kidnapped and nearly raped by Michael Baldwin. Diana also added that Paul had tried to rape Christine. And yes, I don't remember the first one. I don't remember Derek. I was not watching at that time, but I have heard of it. I also, as Diana mentioned, did kind of remember that there was that with Paul that never really felt right for me. But I also think that since we haven't seen Michael and Christine go head to head in the courtroom for a while, I thought it might be interesting to travel that relationship back a little bit, because Michael and Christine were working together as attorneys, I believe, and Michael became very, very obsessed with Christine to the point that he dug a tunnel into her apartment and he tried to rape her. It was Paul who broke in and saved her, and I also think that Michael ended up getting arrested and sent to prison. He also lost his law license. And then when he came back, which I guess this would have been maybe also in the 90s, he came back started telling everyone that he was reformed, and it was Christine who actually helped him get his law license back. So yes, dark history of Michael's character and dark history of Christine and Michael's relationship. I think that maybe in part that's some of the reason why Christine and Michael doing something so cordial together, like sharing a breath mint, feels impactful in a way. It kind of says how far that relationship has come. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Leslie, because I think that's an interesting conversation to have this week especially. Gary says he liked seeing Michael toss his friend Phyllis to the winds. Yes, I know. It's like Y&R really hasn't paid a whole lot of attention to the fact that Michael and Phyllis were once very close. They were once cohorts. Leslie says, I think that the writers may have forgotten that Michael was Phyllis's best friend, not Lauren. Lauren just became her friend through Michael. So yes, we have seen Phyllis and Lauren become very close, and I like that very much, but Phyllis and Michael were the original friendship, and as Gary mentioned, Michael had no problem just hanging her out to dry. Well, he was doing his job, of course, but I liked that scene too. Oh, let's see. Let's finish up with Nancy here. Nancy says, Phyllis on the stand testifying. Can someone explain why there appears to be what looks like a Virginia state flag behind her of what should have been a Wisconsin state flag? Isn't that funny? I wasn't sure about that, but then I saw your comment, Nancy, and I looked up the Virginia state flag. I consulted on my screen cap of Phyllis sitting on the stand, and I Googled all the flags, and it was indeed a Virginia state flag that was sitting behind Phyllis on the stand, not Wisconsin. I'm imagining that the Y&R prop department just grabbed the first flag that they could find. They were like, toss it up there, no one will notice. Okay, everybody, that just about does it for me. One other little anecdote I wanted to share. Sometimes when I'm just getting ready to fall asleep, I like to scroll through the website Reddit and just see whatever little top stories from the internet are going on there. And there was a question on Reddit. Like someone had asked a question of the Reddit community that seems very relevant and has been sticking with me. So the question on Reddit was, why, someone was genuinely asking, why do soap operas look different on TV compared to all of the other shows? And so, of course, I was going to click on this for further investigation. And I guess the long story short version of why soaps look different is because of the frame rates that they're being filmed at. If I understand correctly, soaps were filmed at, they had to be filmed a little cheaper because there was more content. It's a daily show, and there was a lot to contend with, so they had to keep them more cost effective. But of course, I start then scrolling through all of the comments, and while there were a lot of mature responses, there was also a lot of soap opera laughing and hating on. Now, I know soap operas are cheesy and we have a reputation for certain themes, and of course lots of people wanted to chime in and say it's because I'm pregnant with your baby, dun dun dun. I mean, all of those are like the beats of drama and the beats of soap operas. But there was this person who also made a point to say, I'm going to assume that the soap opera primary audience is older people who don't work, and I dare you to try to change anything about their routine. So this person is making an assumption that soap operas are watched primarily by older people who don't work. and these people who watch soap operas, I just dare you to try and change anything about their routine. Okay, well, I mean, that smarts a little bit because first of all, I started watching the show when I was 14. I mean, I wasn't working. Okay, so fine, that's when they caught me. But I work, and I guess I don't think I'm that much older. So it just kind of seemed that I just wanted to plug that comment out, because it does kind of seem like people make assumptions about soap opera viewers and about soap operas. And I know that there's no one who doesn't watch who's listening to this, but I think you should give it a try. Anybody who doesn't watch soap operas, it's so easy to just laugh it off and say, those stupid people who watch, or those stupid shows. But I would challenge anyone who is making fun of soap operas to turn on and watch it for a week. You will start picking up on things that interest you. And I further contend that Y&R specifically, that's what I can most personally speak to, it's not that much different from any of the other shows that air on TV. And even there are many more shows these days that have fantastical elements in them that people enjoy very much. I mean, for instance, I don't watch any of these shows, but like The Walking Dead, I know is popular, and that's zombies. Or, I know there's some shows on CW that has maybe some vampires, or what is it, Game of Thrones, is that one? I don't know, but there's lots of shows that are set in, a fantasy place. So I don't know why soap operas get dinged for having one foot in the real world and one foot in the fantasy world. I think that Y&R specifically is not that much different from any of the other prime time major network programming. It's just that it happens to air during the day. It's a 1-hour drama. Yes, there are some culturally cheesy tropes that we like to stick with and like to use, and I'm sure that the people who write and produce and are responsible for soap operas know who their audience is and what we want, and it's passed down through generations too, and I just don't think that should be so easily not. A lot of people started watching these shows with their grandmother or their mother, and then they turn around and offer it to their children, and I just think it's so cool and unique. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to knock. And I won't have it. I just simply won't have it. Can't have, I didn't comment. I didn't go in there because I'm not looking for an argument, but I don't know. It's something that occurred to me this week, and I thought I would toss it out there that we should have soap pride, not soap shame, soap pride. Oh, where else can you go back and see clips from 20, 30, 40 years ago? Nowhere. That is totally unique to this genre. And yeah, I think it should be something that's proud of and that's celebrated. Boom, boom! Reddit? Okay. Well, I'm getting a little warm and a little tired, so I should probably get going. But if you would like to boom boom about anything, you can go to yrchat.com to leave your comments. I love your booms. And I will be back next week to give you more of mine. Everybody have a wonderful week. Mwah, 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 mwah. Boom! Bye!